Hi, folks. Welcome to episode 4 of our Limb Loss Awareness Month series. I'm Nathan Bragg, and today I'm joined by Paralympian and wheelchair basketball star Deion Green. He also happens to be a former junior teammate of mine way back in the day. We'll be talking about some of his experiences growing up in wheelchair basketball. How you doing today, Deion?
I'm great. Happy to be here.
Thanks. Really appreciate it. So you're a little bit different than some of the other people we've interviewed so far in the fact that, if I'm not mistaken, you were born with your impairment, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I had no, go ahead. Sorry.
Can you tell us just a little bit about that?
Yeah, no problem. So I was born missing my tibia bones, the larger of the shin bones. And when I was 4.5 months old, my parents had made the decision to have the lower half of both my legs amputated. So that happened, and just been me ever since,
Yeah, just been you ever since. So you grew up in Victoria, Vancouver Island, correct? Or Saanich, somewhere around there?
I grew up all over the place, actually. I had my amputation done in Ontario, in Mississauga, where I was born. And then I moved to Burnaby, which is where I started playing wheelchair basketball. And then Winnipeg, and then Victoria. And when I lived in Victoria is probably when I met you.
Nice. So how did you first get involved in wheelchair basketball? Do you remember by chance?
Yeah. Common question. I was 10 and I played stand-up with my friends, but they were all getting taller, and now like the stand-up option wasn't really an option anymore. And just word of mouth, my dad heard about wheelchair basketball practices being held out in Richmond. So we went down, we checked it out, and I've been a wheelchair basketball player ever since.
Nice. Now, what is it about wheelchair basketball that you really enjoy? Because obviously, you're still playing in your 30s. Clearly, it's something you enjoy a lot. Can you just tell us about that?
Just the passion for the game, man. And like I love the technical side of it, like how precise you have to be with scoring or passing or setting a pick. And I also love the like subtle rugby side of it, where you just get to hit people sometimes.
Okay, now going off of that, you've been playing for a long time. So when you started, you were playing at the junior levels, and you kind of excelled fairly quickly, from what I remember. What was it like for you when you first started to get to go to things like junior nationals or Canada Games or events of that nature?
It was what I wanted, so it was awesome. Like and yeah, it happened quickly, which was nice, and which was probably like more of a rude awakening later in my career when things didn't happen quickly. But Canada Games was like such an awesome experience. Both times I went, and just like a great stepping stone. You get to see where you are with the other guys across Canada, and then move on from there.
Yeah. Now you started your international career pretty early too. I think it was probably around like 2007, 2008, 2009. You were on that junior worlds team. Can you just talk to me about like what that experience was like, representing Canada for the first time, and doing it with a group of guys that I know some of them you're still pretty good friends with to this day?
Yeah, it was awesome. Obviously we wish we would have done better like on the court, but overall the whole experience was wild. I was one of the older guys at that point, and I don't know if I was a leader necessarily, but I was trying to be, and trying to show the guys just how like what you could do and how much fun wheelchair basketball could be, and like what kind of experiences it could bring you. Like we were in Paris, playing at Junior Worlds. So
And now you're a member of the senior national team. So obviously you've made a bit of a jump. And I know you said that some things didn't happen quite as fast when you were younger. Can you just expand upon that a little bit and what that process was like to get to that senior national team level?
Well, I kind of after junior level, I took a little bit of time off. And then when I came back, guys that I had been ahead of were now ahead of me, or guys had went to were in or were going to university, so they were training every day there and then coming to camps, and I just felt kind of a step back, that I was having to work harder to match their gains and things like that, just because I hadn't been playing basketball at that point. And like getting onto the team or training at the academy just wasn't coming to me as easy as it felt like it did when I was younger, when I was playing all the time or training, stuff like that.
So what's that process like for you to kind of get back into that training mindset and put that work in? Was there anything in particular that really helped you with that? Or any advice you might have for a young athlete who's thinking about, making that next step and really trying to push themselves to get to a higher level?
For me, it was putting myself into the optimal training environment. So I moved to Toronto to attend our national training center. And I'm not saying that a person has to like uproot their life and do that, but for me personally, that was the best choice, best option, to put myself in that optimal training environment every day and just locking in and putting the hours in, having to doing those early mornings, doing those terrible chair skill sessions, and just knowing, or not always knowing, but just hoping and like focusing on that, all those hours would eventually lead to my end goal, which was to be on the team. And then now that I'm on the team, it's, perform at an optimal level, try to get on the podium. So your goal is kind of always evolving.
Yeah. And now you're still part of the team. You're working towards Tokyo. What's that experience been like? How's training going? How's training with the team during these kind of lockdown times for you?
So training was not great there for a while, like last year when everybody was in full lockdown. Sorry. And it was tough. I was trying to find places outside to do little chair skill sessions, trying to find, random hoops that weren't like, I wasn't going to get on trouble for shooting on, and things like that. But once we got access back to our training center at TPAS, that was definitely extremely helpful. And it started off really slow, one person on a section of court by themselves, you're just shooting, no one else can touch your basketball. And going from outside to that was like amazing. You're like, oh my God, I'm in a gym. This is the best. But our full contact, like regular practices now, thinking back to that, like just I never want to go back to that again either, like on a hoop all by myself, like it's just so lonely.
Yeah.
And but overall, like our training's been awesome. We've had some like bubble camps out in Kingston, and those have been great. And then we had our pass camp out here in Scarborough, and it went over quite well. We've got our COVID testing protocols like down pat pretty well, and all our other COVID protocols, keeping distance, making sure you have your mask on when you're not playing, and it's just an added piece to everything that seems annoying, but we're still getting to play basketball, and that's the end goal of the day.
Nice. And obviously, you're working towards that Paralympic Games. You got to go to your first games in 2016, correct? What was that experience like for you to kind of reach that pinnacle of sport?
Yeah. It's kind of hard to describe. Like it was kind of like a out of this world experience. Like I said about the junior basketball side, like wasn't great on court. Same when we were in Rio, like we didn't place well, we didn't do as well as we wanted to, but the overall experience was incredible. Never played in front of like a big crowd like that, never been to a huge multi-sport event like that. And just the things you learn, the things you get to see, the things you get to kind of be a part of. Ding was the flag bearer, and that was amazing. We got to go in right behind Ding and like watch him do his thing. Like just experiences like hard to explain, and you can never get back or even recreate. Like that was my very first Paralympics, so if I go again, yeah, it's still amazing, but that first one, you can't recreate that first time.
Yeah. And what are some things that you're looking forward to or hoping to accomplish, hopefully heading into your second games?
be better on the basketball side. Like we don't want to go in and come out 11th or 12th or something like that. You know, we want to go in and we want to show people that we've been putting in the hours and that we're Canada still. You know, we podium before and we'll podium again.
I think it's really interesting how you mentioned that we're Canada still, because obviously Canada's been one of the most successful wheelchair basketball programs on both the men's and the women's side. And for you, obviously, now this is a BC-based podcast, so I got to bring up some BC things. When you were kind of coming up out here, there were a lot of really great players around. You know, you had your Jamie Borisovs, your Richard Peters, your Eric Hagrians on the AB side, Ross McDonald off the bench. I'm missing people I know, but like
Bo
right
Hedges.
there, like Bo Hedges, you know, name 4 or 5 names. What was that like, kind of being a young athlete, growing up around those guys and getting to learn from them?
I actually was just talking about this the other day with somebody about how I grew up around legends, like greats in the game. And it was awesome. I just tried to be a sponge as best I could. I would credit Jamie Borisov to this day as a big part of pushing me forward in my career. We had those Div 1, Div 2 league in BC back then. And I just didn't think I could cut it, or I didn't want to cut it in the Div 1. And Jamie just pushed me and he pushed me and he pushed me. And I was succeeding. And he was like, see, I knew you could do it the whole time. So things like that. And learning from Bo, learning from Bear, Richard Peter, just like things I never like think about now, but I probably still do on the court constantly, just out of habit.
And obviously, on the Canada side of things, and this is a podcast where Limbaugh Sports Month was focused on amputees playing the sport, you have the opportunity to play with the guy who a lot of people consider to be the greatest wheelchair basketball player of all time, and Pat Anderson. What's that experience like, you know, getting to share the court with someone who a lot of people look to as like the legend?
It makes the game a lot easier. He draws a lot of defense, so I don't gotta do a whole lot. But it's overall, it's amazing. Like I'll see him playing like in a different league or in or even in a Canada jersey and hear things that other people are saying, like, wow, that was so amazing, or how do you do that? And in my head, I'm thinking like, you did that to me yesterday at practice. Like this, like, it's still amazing to me, but it's just come to be such a common thing. Like I'll just see him do crazy stuff every day. And I'm like, that's just Pat. He's the GOAT.
Cool. And now for those people watching who might not be as familiar with wheelchair basketball or as familiar with your game, now you're a 3'5", if I'm not mistaken. And how would you kind of describe your style of play on court? Like if you were to compare yourself to a stand-up player, or just even describe your game in your own words, what would that be?
I'm gonna use the great Mike Frogley's term and say I'm a jack of all trades. You need me to set a pick, I'll set a pick. You need me to go lock somebody down on defense, I'll go do that. You need me to score, I'll do that. You need me to communicate to the guys more, I got you.
Nice. All right, you heard it here first, folks. Deion Green, the jack of all trades.
Yeah.
He'll get it done. So that's awesome. Going off of that and getting kind of a bit away from the basketball questions here and more to something about being an amputee. Now, what we're finding is that sometimes a lot of athletes with amputations or with limb difference might be a little apprehensive about playing a wheelchair sport, and would decide to try and, like, kind of like what you did, play stand up or put on a pair of prosthetics and see what they can do there. What advice would you have to an athlete who is unsure about hopping into a chair?
Man, just hop in that chair. Just do it. It doesn't make you any less of a walker or any, like, I don't think there should be a stigma about it. You know, just because you can still walk doesn't mean that you can't play wheelchair basketball, or you know what I mean? Like there's I say just give it a try. Like if it really turns out it's not your thing and you want to try something else, that's fine. But I feel most people who just kind of get over that. They hop in it, you get into it, especially if you're already a basketball fan, or even kind of like a sports fan or a team sport fan. Like, it's just a real way to stay engaged, and you don't have to go, not Paralympic level or any of that. You can just play for the love of it, or for exercise, but I would really just say, like, get in that chair and try it, because it's like nothing else.
Yeah. And now for you specifically, are there any kind of basketball memories or experiences that we haven't got to, that you really like to share, or anything in particular that really stands out to you, from all your years of playing basketball, that you're like, man, that was a great time, or I wish I could go back and do that again?
My very first, what was that? Men's nationals, when we still had men's nationals. It was in Quebec, in Montreal, I think. And it was BC versus Ontario, and BC was on a winning streak. It was going to be like our sixth or seventh year in a row winning. And I got some minutes in the game, and it was coming down to the fourth, and I was on the bench, and I like unstrapped. I'm like leaning back. I'm a first year rookie. I was like, they're not putting me in this game. Like, I got the best seats in the house. We're about to win again. And then Anthony Purcell fouled out, and I knew that him and I think Kevin Bowie had to come out, and me and Ross had to go in. So I started panicking, strapped in real tight. My heart is beating like a foot out of my chest. I'm like, oh no, I was taking this way too lightly. Like, you got to get into game mode. And I went out there, and I was terrified about losing this game for these guys. Like, all like the legends we were talking about out there. Ross was out there, Jamie was out there, Bo was out there. I think Bear might have been out. Like, I was like, oh, if I cost them this game, it's over. I'm never going to be able to play again. Like, they're just going to be like, go away. And ended up coming up big. Had a big pick and roll with Ross, scored that. Came up with a big rebound on defense, and like that. Those are the two big moments I can remember, like, well, at least for me in those moments. And we ended up winning, and it was just an amazing feeling. Like, not only was I on the team, I was like on the floor when we won. So I was like, this is wild. And then in the little circle up we had after, Jamie like went out of his way to point me out, and he's like, special shout outs to like the rookie who came in and played big minutes. And like, I'll never forget that. I still think about that. Even sometimes when I get nervous, I'm like, nah, like, Jamie Borisov went out of his way to shout you out. You got this. You got this.
Really cool. That's a great story, and I think it's one that I definitely enjoyed. I hope our viewers enjoy.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know who Jamie Borisov is, he's probably one of the greatest Class 1 wheelchair basketball players of all time.
Sir.
Definitely worth checking out some of the old Wheelchair Basketball Canada highlight reels if you haven't had the chance. It's a fantastic sport, and our country's been blessed to have a number of tremendous athletes throughout the years, at both the Team BC and the Team Canada level. So that's great. Now, I guess my last few questions for you, Deion, is as you get older and as you progress through your career, is there anything that you'd like to see in terms of the growth of the sport and how wheelchair basketball can change and grow in Canada and around the world?
Oh, tough question, bud.
I got the big questions today, man.
I don't know, because I already think that we do a good job by letting ABs play, which I think helps push the sport. But I would say just keep doing what we're doing. Like, I think interviews like these, more like, I don't know, man. It's a terrible way to answer this question.
Hey, it's all good. You gave it a shot. Clearly we're doing well, if things are going great. Actually, I'm really happy that you mentioned the ABs. So for anybody watching who doesn't know this, in Canada, able-bodied athletes or athletes that don't have any form of physical impairment can play wheelchair basketball all the way up to the national level. So you can play at CWBL events. They can play at Canada Games. I know when Deion and I were teammates back in the day, On our junior team, almost half of our team was able-bodied,
Yeah.
which is great for me because we use a classification system so that between all the players on court, you can only add up to a specific number. That number changes based on the level, but each athlete is classified based off how much they can move. So like we said, Deion is a 3.5. Back in the day, I was a 0.5, which doesn't exist anymore, but I would be a 1 now. So it basically looks at people in terms of how much they can move, in terms of their core, their balance, and some of the motions that are responsible to succeed on the basketball court, so that everybody, regardless of their physical ability, can play, and it's talent, not function, that decides how far you go, which is a really cool aspect of that sport. Anyways, I really want to thank Deion for joining us today. Really appreciate it, man. Best of luck heading towards Tokyo and with your training. And thanks for spending time with us.
Oh, thank you, Nate. Thank you. Glad to be here.
All right. If you are enjoying these videos, please leave us a comment, send us a message, let us know. And if there's anything you want to hear about parasport, wheelchair sports in BC, or wheelchair sports in other parts of Canada, please reach out and we'll try and include it in future series. Thanks, folks, and have a great day.